So the big question is this: how are real estate investors who don't have a ton of free time, don't have access to off-market deals, and didn't start life on third base, how do we grow a real estate business conservatively to support our families, finally leave the corporate rat race, and build a legacy? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. I'm Ed Matthews, and this is Real Estate Underground. This is the Real Estate Underground podcast show number 23.
Hey everybody, Ed Matthews here with the Real Estate Underground. Today is a special day. I am so excited about our guest, Mr. Charles Dobens. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hello, Edward. How are you?
I am well.
Very nice to see you, Edward. Yes.
Cheers. And so it's awfully good to see you again, and I'm glad you're doing so well.
Good year.
Yeah.
It's going to be even better. Next year's going to be even better with inflation and skyrocketing interest rates. I'm so looking forward to it. It's going to be great.
Yeah, can't wait, right? And that's obviously counter to it if you listen to the mainstream media, what they're telling everybody. But for people in our business, that's all good news, right?
Yeah. We've seen some bad underwriting in the last couple of years, grossly aggressive underwriting on some of these syndicated deals. I'm on this show, the Shark Pool, the Multifamily Shark Pool. I love it. They hate me. I am the mean shark. I don't care. My job is to protect investors from bad deals. And I've seen some really, really stinker of deals come through. And people just don't. I heard somebody say it, and it was so true, that if you think it's not going to happen again, you're wrong.
Right.
And you were probably around in 2008 in this business, and I got my ass handed to me and I'm not going to let it happen again. And I'm seeing it happen again, and I'm not going to be there. I'm on the right side of it this time.
Fortunately, I've known you for quite some time, and I've been grateful for your friendship and your mentorship over the years. Can't wait to have you back at CT RIA very soon.
Yeah,
that's going to be good. And in fact, I just interviewed for the podcast one of your very successful students, Brendan Chisholm.
I love that kid. I met him at the Connecticut RIA.
Yes, you did.
Great guy.
So I had an opportunity to meet with him a couple of weeks ago, and his podcast is actually a few episodes prior to this one. So
I knew Brendan Chisholm before he could get a date, and now he's a father of two. So how's that?
Impressive. Why not? So Charles, I know most of our audience is going to know exactly who you are, but let's talk about your background a little bit and who you are, what you do for a living, and how you help people like me and the folks in our audience.
Yeah, I'm an attorney. As I teach my students, I'm an attorney. I'm not your attorney. You're going to hire an attorney. But my practice is really to assist in multifamily investors, people, whether they're brand spanking new or they own 6,000 apartments. I don't care. My advice is always the same. And my job is to help you buy that property, whether you've never done it before or you've done it a million times, and make sure that you buy it the right way. And I've created the Multifamily Investing Academy, and I've just created this new platform called the Multifamily Operating System, or the multifamilyos.com. And the reason why I created this new program is because I noticed that there was a big gap in the training. Like for years, all I was doing was teaching people how to buy the property. But what they really needed experience in was how to run the business of buying the properties. And the biggest thing I noticed was that my most successful students, and I could tell this on the first phone call, my most successful students were the people that came to me with a sales and marketing background. I knew right away those people were going to be a success. Brendan Chisholm. Right. Brendan Chisholm, perfect case in point. The guy came, he was out there selling every day. You have to understand that as a business owner, 90% of your business is sales and marketing. And the problem I realized is that when people were coming into the multifamily business and they couldn't even tell you who their customer was. Who's your customer in the multifamily business? Everybody thinks, oh, it's a tenant. It's a tenant. No, it isn't. It isn't. It's the investor and it's the owner. You have to understand who gives you the money. A customer gives you money.
Yep.
That's the investor. But at the same time, somebody has to buy your product. And Ed, your product, you have only one product that you can control and you manage, and that's an offer. A seller has to accept your offer and say, I like your product, I'll buy that from you. Otherwise, you're not even in this business. And so when you look at it that way, I've now created systems and training to teach people you've got to focus on the sales and marketing aspect of this business. Otherwise, especially in this market where people are paying stupid money for these deals, you're never going to find anything and you're never going to get even a head start. So that's the new multifamily OS platform.
Fantastic. So let's talk about your background. I've known of you and followed you and have known you for quite some time. And you have bought, operated, managed thousands of multifamily units.
Yeah.
How did you get into real estate? I know you were a successful attorney before that. So
yeah, actually what I did was I started off right out of college going to take the path of least resistance, which was the family business, which was insurance, which I'll tell you right now, Ed, if you ever have a child that says, I want to go in the insurance business, there's something wrong with that child because it is a fallback position. It's not where you want to be. Right. So I got into that and I quickly realized I hated it. I went to law school, and when I came out, I had been working in a particular niche of the insurance field, and I was making a lot of money. And so I thought, I might as well stay in this and start my own insurance firm. So I started an insurance business, did that for about 10 years. Worst business to be in, absolutely the worst, going to put me in an early grave, hated it. And I said this one time when I was teaching, I was teaching at Babson College, and it just came on me. I didn't even think about what my statement would say. But I looked at the audience, I was telling them about how much I hated my life back during those days. And I said, how many people think that the worst part of your week is Sunday night?
Yeah. How many hands went up in that crowd?
Oh, Ed, I was blown away. You saw people start going like this. I'm like, I thought it was just me.
Right.
Because I hated Sunday nights because that meant I had to go into the office the next day and get my head beat in. Yep. And people were nodding their heads like, whoa, man, I'm onto something here. But that's the way I felt. And I own the company. I had 35 employees working for me, and I hated going to the office every single day. And I thought to myself, I can only imagine what my employees must think. Right. That's how bad it was. I told my wife, I can't do this anymore. She says, what are we going to do? I said, I don't know, but I'm going to be in a grave pretty soon if I don't get out of this business. She says, so what do you want to do? I said, I've always wanted to own apartments. I've always wanted. So we sold the insurance firm, took the money and started buying apartments. And that's how I got started in it. And then as far as my law degree and my law practice, I started buying, and we were over 1,000 apartments in short order. And I'd love to tell you that whole story, but the market crashed. And boy, did I get a real comeuppance. One moment I'm the big guy buying apartments. Next thing I know, I'm fighting to keep them. And I kept some of them. I lost some of them. And I realized, I got to start earning some other additional revenue here. And so that's when I started practicing law. And basically my expertise was in the multifamily owners. And because they were my friends and they were calling me up and they were saying, hey, I'm losing my property. Can you help me? I said, yeah, okay, let me get in there. And I'll tell you, Ed, at that time, when they were in the thick of it, as I had already gone through with some of my properties, there was nothing that you could do. I mean, the damage had been done. The banks were getting in there. They were involved. You were losing the property. So I was just holding their hands through the process. Right. But what I saw a lot of these deals, and I said to my clients, I said, why did you buy this property in the first place? Oh, we were going to reposition it from a C to a B, and we're going to do all these great things. I'm like, that was never going to happen on this deal. This is a bad deal. I would never have touched this thing. And so I realized that some of these guys are just doing bad deals, and they don't know that they're doing bad deals. They just think all we have to do is buy an apartment and we'll make millions. And so I realized my expertise was better off helping them before they bought the property, and training them and making sure they don't make any mistakes before they buy the property. And that's when I really started practicing. And it's really consulting practice, but I tell people I'm a lawyer. I'm not your lawyer, but I will look, act, and feel like your lawyer. And that way, you know that my advice to you, I'm your zealous advocate through the whole entire process. And I'm also making sure that you're protected every step of the way and you don't make those mistakes. And that's really where my expertise has shined over the last 10 years. So
For sure. So I know that you work with seasoned veterans of this world, but also newbies. What do you think separates the folks that kind of dream about getting into this business and the ones that actually become your student or you see in the industry who is successful and thriving?
Okay, it's really two things. Now, the first thing, you've heard it said a million times. And that first thing is the people who do it, who distinguish themselves from the rest of the crowd, are those people that take action. You got to move. You got to do something. Otherwise, as I always tell my students, if you're not making offers, this is nothing more than a very expensive hobby.
Right.
And then I followed up with, if you're not making offers, it's just you and me talking. If you're not making offers, it's just you sitting above your mother's garage, hoping your life changes. That's it. So that's the first thing. The second distinguishing factor of success is something I've noticed. And I've worked with students who came with me with nothing and left me with nothing. And I've worked with people who've come with me with nothing and are with me today with 6,000 apartment units. And the thing that makes the difference between the two, I can tell in the first phone call, are those people that show up with an understanding that sales and marketing is the most important aspect of this business. And the problem is that when people hear me say that and they don't come from a sales and marketing background, they think, that rules me out. Well, I'm out. I can't do this. And the fact is, no. It's just, I got the systems. I've got it all in place for you already. Just come over and work my system and we'll find you those owners and we'll find you those investors and we'll find you those brokers and tell you exactly what you have to say to be a success in this business. Because I don't want that lack of experience to be an excuse for you not succeeding in this business.
Sure.
You just need to buy 2 properties. You and I will mentor you for 2 properties. After that, we're just friends. Like Brendan Chisholm. Right. We're buddies. We talk. I love the kid. Great guy. But you know what? If he picks up the phone call, he's not in my program anymore, but if he picks up the phone, calls me, I take the call and we go through it. And then he asks me questions about the business and I set him straight and tell him what to do. And that's how it works.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? It's that in my own career, I valued the people that were going to tell me the unvarnished truth.
Yeah.
I tell people, I joke, but it's true. I don't need cheerleaders. My mom thinks I'm awesome, right? Yeah. So if I need to feel good, I'll go buy her a cup of coffee and we'll talk about how awesome I am.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
A motivated seller just filled out your web form. If you call back within 5 minutes, you're nearly 4 times more likely to get that seller appointment. But delay your follow-up by even just 10 minutes? Forget it. You're toast. Elevista Connect calls that lead back in 60 seconds, qualifies them, and schedules your meeting. Find out how much slow follow-up is costing you. Free calculator at elevista.com/underground.
And
that's like that Progressive commercial where they're sitting and watching the movie and the woman starts clapping at the name. Nobody that made the movie is here. Nobody that made the movie is here anymore.
My favorite campaign. But the fact is that having somebody who is a mentor and somebody who's gone through it, both the good and the bad, right, certainly can guide you. I had this mentor, his name was Mike Gonerman, and I had a consulting firm back in my technology days, and I'd sit with him once a month for a cup of coffee or breakfast. And first 10 minutes, I'd tell him about all the things I was conquering and how well things were going. And he asked me a half a dozen pointed questions. And then he'd take a deep breath and he'd say, okay, here are the 19 ways you're screwing your business up and here's how you fix it. Right.
Yeah.
And that was invaluable. I mean, there's nothing that can replace that experience. And frankly, the integrity to have somebody tell you that. Right.
Yeah. And I tell you, when I was starting, this is now translated into things I'm doing now. When I was getting started and we were doing syndications, I had one investor who was a ball buster, and this guy would rip apart my deals. And I always made sure that he was the first guy I pitched to whenever I had a new deal, because I wanted him to set me straight. What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? And I learned so much from that guy. And that has now translated over, obviously, into my practice, but also into like that Shark Pool show where people get up there and they think that they've got a deal. So, hey, you can't say anything wrong about my deal. And I go through it piece by piece, like, you don't have a deal. This is terrible. You should run from this property. And I'll tell you, there was one guy got in there, and this was back a couple of months, where he had this deal. And all the other sharks were like, oh, this looks great. And I get up there and I tell him, hey, this emperor has no clothes and this is a bad deal and you better run from it. And let me tell you where you went wrong. And this is exactly why you don't want to do this deal. I'm telling you, Ed, I hate this story of how it ended. And it ended proving I was right, because he lost, the whole deal fell apart, never got to the closing table. He and his investors lost $500,000 in earnest money. And I had told them not to do it. I even said to them on the call, I said, here's my cell phone number. Call me. We need to talk because you're going to be in trouble on this one. Never. I even went back when Cornelius Cannon, who runs the show, called me up and told me the guys, they're done, they're screws, they're toast. And I said, my first thought was, and this is honestly, my first thought was, did I do something wrong? In other words, I know that I told this guy to call me. Did he call me and I didn't take his call? And I went back and I checked my emails. I checked my phone registry. I looked. He never contacted me. Because my first thought is, as an attorney, did I... Not that he's my attorney, but I still, what I have to represent myself.
You have a sense of responsibility when you.
I do. Right? I absolutely do. I thought I told this guy to call me. Did he call me? Did I blow it? And he never called me, and he blew it, and he lost $500,000, and it was very bad. But everything I said that was going to go wrong went wrong. And Ed, how do you think I knew that was going to happen?
My guess is that you had a similar deal and you went through it.
It happened to me. The exact same thing happened to me. And I saw it a mile away. And if you're a brand new guy, you're never going to know that. I knew it. And if he was my clients have never lost money in the earnest money deposit. We know how to work the system, either get out of the deal, fix the deal, do whatever we need to do, but don't lose that earnest money. And this guy lost $500,000 on other people's money, not even his own money. Yeah, it was tough.
Buying investment real estate is both thrilling and sometimes stressful. Without a lending expert by your side, most investors don't stand a chance. That's where CT RIA Funding comes in. CT RIA Funding was founded by investors to help investors just like you fund their deals. Whether you're buying a single-family rehab, an apartment building, or really any investment property, our team will understand your deal and help you close quickly. Go to ctriafunding.com or call us at 860-876-0572.
Being a mentor, being a coach, being an attorney, you've given a lot of advice. I'm curious about your mentors and the advice they've given you. So what is the best advice you've ever gotten and who gave it to you?
Oh, I'll tell you, it's so funny you say that, because one thing that was said to me that has rung throughout my years was said to me by my sales manager at New York Life, fresh out of college, who just texted me yesterday to wish me a happy birthday, who sponsored me for membership at the Nashua Country Club, who I just happened to mention when I was in the process of writing a book, and I talked about him in my book. And this guy was a success as an agent for New York Life, and he left the field and went into management. My father was an agent for 57 years, never went into management. Why would you, as a successful agent, leave the field and become a manager? And I asked him that as a 22-year-old kid. And he said to me, Charlie, I get such pleasure seeing you succeed. And I thought that was the stupidest thing anybody could say. Why would he care about my success as a 22-year-old kid? It didn't make any sense to me. And fast forward to today, and with all of my students, all of my success stories, all the people in my program, I love seeing them succeed. Brendan Chisholm, I am so happy for him. That kid is going to be a multi-millionaire in the next 2 to 3 years because of what I did early on to help him. That makes me feel so good. And so remembering that story and then applying it to what I'm doing now, that's the type of thing that has sustained the years.
Yeah.
Juices
you. It's the next stage of growth, right? You know, once you've grown, once you've done your 10,000 hours and you've created that competence and you've become unconsciously competent, the next step is contribution. Right. Yep. And turning around and paying it forward to the folks that are coming up behind you. I tell the folks that we mentor, we're all reading the same book. I'm just a couple of chapters ahead of you. And so my job is to help you avoid some of the mistakes I've made and take advantage of some of the opportunities I've uncovered. Right.
Yep.
Same thing. Right. I'm reading your book and I'm a handful of chapters behind you.
I hate to quote this guy, and I won't use his name because he's in bad stead right now, but Bill Gates said, success is a lousy teacher. And I've had so many failures and mistakes that I've learned from. I could not be as successful as I am right now as a coach mentor if I hadn't been through all that stuff. I know things that I hope you will never know. I had to live them. That's what makes me as good as I am. And I'm so glad that I had that to get to where I am today. That's the weird thing. Look, I had to, get a lot of cuts and bruises and broken bones to be as strong as I am now.
Yeah. And I think I even heard you say this, the best way to learn is by doing it. Right. So jump in head first.
Because if you're not doing it, you're not in the game. As Teddy Roosevelt said about the man in the arena, you got to be the man in the arena. Right. Oh, wasn't it Tom Brady that said that? I can't recall.
Let's get Brady the quote.
Exactly. Who's Teddy Roosevelt anyway,
It was a long time ago.
He was no goat. He
wasn't even the most famous Roosevelt.
Yeah, Eleanor was.
Yeah, Eleanor was, exactly, right? You mentioned that you're writing a book. Can I ask you about that?
I'll tell you something. I've been trying to do this for years now. And I know it's a great piece and I want to make it fun and anecdotal about some of the stories that I've been through, because I got some great stories. And I've noticed that when I go out and speak across the country, people just want to hear the stories. They just want to hear the stories. So I want to get these stories into a book. So I hired a ghostwriter, and I'm working with them, telling them all the stories, and we're putting it all together. It's all about multifamily, but it's all about doing it the right way and looking at it as a business. It's not like a great American novel, that's for darn sure, but I'm trying to keep it as fun as it possibly can be.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I know that leaders are readers, and you're obviously an author now, but I'm curious about the books you read and what you pay attention to.
Oh my gosh. Where am I right now? I'm in my office. Yeah, I'll tell you, I have so many. And the really cool thing is I have authors on my podcast now, and it's great to interview them. And I don't have my phone with me because I usually do it on Audible. I can tell you. So let me run through what I've got. First up, in our business, it's very important to understand social demographics and what's going on. Where's the market moving? What are people buying? What can they afford? What can't they afford? There was a book written back in just before 2015 called Big Shifts Ahead by Chris Cooper and John, I can't remember his name, but Chris Cooper is the author. I can't remember, it's Chris Dinan, but he was on my podcast. And that's a great book to talk about what was going on between 2015 and 2025. Okay, so that book is now getting dated. And it's really interesting to see where they were right and where they were wrong.
Right.
And they were right in a lot of respects. One of the things they did right in that book is they broke up these generational terms like baby boomers, Gen Xers, Gen Yers. They said that doesn't work because I'm a baby boomer. I got about 8-9 more years before I even have to buy Medicare. People as baby boomers They're picking out caskets right now. That's how broad it is. You cannot figure out any social demographic shifts or changes when you have a generation that big. So what they did is they broke it down into 10-year increments. Every decade was a different generation. And what's really interesting is that those kids that were born in the 70s or the 80s, if you were born, it was even such a distinction that if you were born at the beginning of the decade, your financial situation was entirely different than somebody that was born at the end of the decade. I think it was the people born in the 70s or 80s went through the year 2000, that decade, at a different pace. So the guys who were older going into the 2000s, they had more equity than those who were younger or born later in that decade, because at the end of 2000, everything crashed. And the people who were in that decade at the end, they had no money. But the people before, they had built up some equity. So that was one of the distinctions. Another really a big one was those people who were born in the 60s. And this is me. Those people who were born in the 60s are retiring now with the least amount of equity than ever before.
Really?
Yes. Because the people who were born in the 60s had to suffer through 3 real estate cycles. And Ed, we're about to enter the 4th. We are. And that's the key. You've got to know where you are right now so you don't make the same mistakes you did in the past 3 cycles. So that book was very powerful. Now, the next book on the same topic is written Mauro Guillen. I think it's Guilan. Mauro Guillen, he's a professor at Yale, and the name of the book is 2030. And that's that takes you through the next 10-year cycle. So those are just a couple of them. I am one about habits. The Checklist Manifesto is a great one. Oh, there was one about, what was the guy? He's the doctor. He just got his PhD from Clemson. It was all about getting out of the habits, getting out of the way to overcome bad habits is to take yourself out of the environment. Gosh, I can't remember that book, but I tell you, I always have the Audible going in my car, and I'm listening to all, and it's all, I lent, I don't know if I should admit this, but a buddy of mine said, "Hey, can you give me your Audible username and password? I just want to go." I said, "Sure. Here it is. And then he calls me up later. He goes, "Those are the most boring books. Like, you have no fictional books or anything." Like, no, I don't have time to read fictional books. Right. I mean, I just listen to true crime, murder, mystery podcasts and my motivational books on Audible. That's all I do.
That's it.
Yeah.
Same here.
Yeah.
So, Charles, it's always a pleasure. I'm curious, when you're not talking about real estate, what do you like to do?
I have 2 things. I play golf. I just looked at my schedule. I was going through my schedule. I got 5 straight days of golf coming up with 3 golf tournaments and 1 charitable tournament and a practice round. And I'll tell you something, Ed, I can't walk anymore. My feet from years of marathon, I can't. So end of that 5-day period, I'm going to be in tough shape. So I play golf as much as I can. And I have a plane, and I fly my plane wherever I can. So flying is my jam. I absolutely love. I got a cool little plane. And if anyone wants to check it out, you can Google it. Type in the tail number, November 52 Kilo Sierra. It's an RV-10. Go check it out. I call it Miss America, and that's my plane. I just flew down to Virginia, and I go to Block Island. I was in Nantucket this weekend. It's just my thing. I love flying. So those are my 2 things. That's what I do.
So, Charles, as I said, it's always a pleasure to catch up, and it's really good to see you. I'm glad you're doing so well. If someone's looking to get in touch with you or learn more about your coaching or your mentor programs, or just want to reach out and make friends, what's the best way to get in touch with you? Go through the website, multifamilyos.com. And that is, we're revamping that. And, with the new book coming out, there's going to be like a giveaway for that. Make sure you just get on my mailing list. I do a podcast. You can find, or check out Multifamily Investing Academy.com. That's where I've got like 200 podcasts now. Ed, I don't know how many, where are you on the list? How many do you have? You're going to be in the mid-20s. So we're a little bit early on. Oh, you're early. Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. So I'll tell you, when they told me I had to do a podcast, I was like,
I don't want to do a podcast. I don't want something that I got to like do on a regular basis. And now it's the only thing I want to do is my podcast. I love
my favorite time of day.
Exactly. It's a blast. It is so cool. And I tell you, I said to the guy that runs my podcast, I said, hey, how are we doing? Because I don't even look at the numbers. He goes, oh, yeah, we're doing really well. I said, like, what does that mean? Like, what's really well? And he goes, oh, you got like over 100,000 downloads. I'm like, oh, wow, that's cool. He goes, yeah. And he says, as a matter of fact, you are in the top 5% of all podcasts in the world. And I said, okay, that means one of two things. Either I'm doing really well, or everybody and their brother has a podcast. I think the latter is more true. So,
hey, but nevertheless, I know it's a regular listen for me, and I'm grateful for all the information you've given to folks like me over the years. And like I said, always a pleasure to see you, and hopefully we get to shake each other's hands soon.
Oh yeah, that'll be fun. Thanks, Ed. I appreciate it too.
All right. Charles Dobens, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ed.
This has been the Real Estate Underground Podcast, a CT RIA presentation. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, and share this podcast with your friends. If there's a specific topic you want us to cover, post it in the comments. For more information on the Real Estate Underground Podcast or CT RIA, go to realestateundergroundpodcast.com or ctria.com. Until next time, happy investing.
This has been the Real Estate Underground. Don't forget to subscribe. It helps us grow. Until next time, Undergrounders, remember your real estate journey begins with a simple step forward. Now get to it. Bye for now.